Hey everyone, What If Fan here. This is the first part of the new series What If template system in Fairy Tail World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 1, Ulquiorra Cipher. Fiori Kingdom, Magnolia Town. Fairy Tail Guild. May I have your name? Takashi. Your age? 18. What magic are you proficient in? Take over magic. Take over magic? Mary Jane was a bit surprised, not expecting this newcomer to be proficient in the same magic as her. However, takeover magic is a very common magic, so it wasn't strange for him to use it. Mary Jane asked. Alright, registration complete. Takashi, where would you like your guild mark? Takashi placed his right hand on the counter and said, On the back of this hand. Choose a color you like. Red. Mary Jane adjusted the stamp color, then pressed it onto Takashi's hand. A red Fairy Tail Guild mark was imprinted on the back of Takashi's right hand. Mary Jane said with a bright smile, Welcome to Fairy Tail. You are now an official member of Fairy Tail. Thank you. Takashi looked at the mark on the back of his hand, feeling a subtle excitement. He had actually joined Fairy Tail. This was a dream come true. Ding! Congratulations, host, for joining Fairy Tail. Do you wish to bind this guild? A panel, visible only to him, popped up in front of Takashi. Bind. Ding! Binding successful. Congratulations, host, you have received a 10 draws. Do you wish to draw? Draw. Just as Takashi was about to tap draw, he suddenly remembered something and asked, Mary Jane-san, can you wish me good luck? Mary Jane was a little confused, but she still gave Takashi a bright smile and blessed him. Takashi-san, I wish you good luck. So cute. I really want to marry her and take her home as my wife. With Myra's blessing, Takashi lightly tapped the screen with his finger. The screen flashed with streaks of starlight. To Takashi's surprise, a dazzling golden star shimmered among them. A gold has appeared. Takashi instantly became excited when he saw it. He hadn't expected to pull a gold on just 10 draws. Soon, 10 character cards appeared on the panel. Takashi didn't spare the other minor characters even a single glance. He only looked at the first one, wondering who the golden character he had pulled was. Upon seeing the character's image, he recognized his identity even without reading the name. It's him. Short, spiky black hair, pale skin, green eyes with deep green tear marks below them, a white horned helmet on the left side of his head, a slender physique, wearing a high-collared, long-sleeved white top with a black base, and a kimono-style skirt pant. A sword was tucked at his waist, making him appear very elegant and handsome. Ulquiorra Cipher. The number 4 of the Espada, Aizen's Arrancar army, in Bleach. Bleach was one of Takashi's all-time favorites, and Ulquiorra was a character he particularly liked. Even though Ulquiorra's ranking among the Espada was only number 4, that was merely his ranking in his first Resurrección. His unique second Resurrección would significantly boost his power, and in the eyes of many, Ulquiorra was the strongest Espada. He was ultimately defeated by Hollow Ichigo, but that didn't mean he was weak. After all, Hollow Ichigo's strength might have been among the top tier even at the anime's conclusion. This is amazing! Takashi couldn't help but exclaim in delight. He hadn't expected to pull a gold, and Ulquiorra at that. This was definitely a super strong and powerful character. Everyone in the guild looked at Takashi in confusion. What's amazing? Mary Jane looked at Takashi with some confusion. This newcomer seemed a bit strange. Takashi then realized he had unconsciously spoken aloud. I mean, joining Fairy Tail is amazing. Mary Jane smiled upon hearing Takashi's words. Mages who admired Fairy Tail often showed great joy when joining the guild. She had a lot of goodwill for those who genuinely loved Fairy Tail. She suggested, "Let me give you a tour of the guild." Takashi smiled. "Okay, thank you." Mary Jane first brought Takashi to the request board and explained, "This is the request board. All tasks posted by clients are displayed here. Guild members can choose suitable requests based on their content. After completing a request, they receive a commission. This is the main source of income for guild mages. The basement is the storage room, mainly used for stacking guild sundries. What about the second floor?" Takashi looked up at the second floor. The second floor is the infirmary. Guild members who are injured and need treatment can go up to the second floor. Under normal circumstances, ordinary members are not allowed on the second floor. Only S-class mages are permitted. Why? Because the tasks there are all S-class or higher. Each one is almost a life-or-death mission, but relatively speaking, the rewards are also much more generous. Only by becoming an S-class mage are you qualified to accept them. S-class mage, huh? Takashi, of course, knew about S-class mages. S-class mages were the ace mages of a guild, much stronger than ordinary mages, and were the pillars of a guild. The smiling girl in front of him, who looked delicate and weak, was one of Fairy Tail's S-class mages. "I will definitely become an S-class mage," Takashi said softly, his tone very firm. "I wish you early success." Mary Jane smiled upon hearing this. She used to be just like Takashi, and seeing him was like seeing her past self. However, becoming an S-class mage is not that easy. She hoped Takashi could achieve it. The more S-class mages a guild has, the stronger the guild will be. Chapter 2: What is Magic? Host: Takashi. Age 18. Race: Human. Magic power: Magic, take over magic, anime soul. Character card: Ulquiorra Cipher. Watching Ulquiorra's character card quietly sitting in the system panel, Takashi was extremely excited. Takashi, originally just a high school graduate on Earth, had transmigrated to the Fairy Tail world half a month ago due to an accident, and had also awakened a gacha system. The system he just mentioned can draw characters who have died in anime. After Takashi uses his takeover magic, he can use the character's power to fight. It's like playing Genshin Impact. However, the system requires the host to bind with a guild. After binding, in addition to one fixed drawing chance awarded each month, completing tasks within the guild can also grant drawing chances. Since he had come to this world, he naturally had to join Fairy Tail. After all, he was more familiar with Fairy Tail and preferred its atmosphere. Moreover, Fairy Tail was also the strongest guild in Fiori. Binding here meant he could accept more tasks. Takashi walked to the request board and looked at the various requests on it. The requests on the first floor request board didn't have clear grading, but the system panel displayed their levels. Tasks with a reward of 1 million jewels or more were marked as A rank. Completing one A rank task would net him 1 draw. Tasks with a reward between 500,000 and 1 million jewels were marked as B rank. Completing 2 B rank tasks would net him 1 draw. Tasks with a reward between 100,000 and 500,000 jewels were marked as C rank. Completing 10 C rank tasks would net him 1 draw. As for tasks with rewards below 100,000 jewels, the system no longer marked them. In other words, if he wanted to get draws, he could only complete tasks with a reward of 100,000 jewels or more. Takashi first looked at tasks with rewards between 100,000 and 500,000. Eliminate the Vulcan, wipe out bandits, kill forest monsters. In the Fairy Tail world, 100,000 jewels is equivalent to about $1,000. Getting $1,000 or more for one task could be considered generous, but that was for mages. For example, facing a Vulcan, if it were ordinary people, 20 adult soldiers might not be a match for even one Vulcan. When calculated this way, this reward seemed quite low. Takashi glanced at this level of tasks a few times, and then stopped looking. It wasn't about the reward, it was because he would only get 1 draw for completing 10 such tasks. 1 task, including travel time, would take at least 2 or 3 days. Even if he didn't rest, completing 10 tasks would take at least a month. 1 draw a month meant 12 a year. Including the 1 granted by the system each month, that would be a total of 24. It was simply too few. According to the system, within 100 draws, there was a guarantee for a gold character. It would be a long time before he could get another gold character. He has to take on more difficult tasks. Besides, more difficult tasks offered more rewards. In his previous life, he was poor. In this life, he must become rich. Soon, Takashi selected a task. He walked towards Mary Jane with the request form. "Mira, I want to do this job." Mary Jane was very surprised to see Takashi pick a suitable task so quickly. "Are you starting work so soon? You can familiarize yourself with the guild first." Takashi smiled bitterly and shook his head. "No need, I'm already so poor I can't even afford food. If I don't work, I won't have money to eat." He had been in this world for half a month and hadn't been doing well. Without money for food, he could only sleep in the wilderness. On his way to Fairy Tail, he even encountered bandits. If the system hadn't given him a draw, and he hadn't drawn a blue character, a Chunin, he might have failed before even starting. Then, he scrounged some money from the bandits, which allowed him to reach Fairy Tail. Now, he had little left, and his desire for money had reached its peak. Hee hee. Mary Jane couldn't help but laugh when she heard Takashi say this. Most mages in Fairy Tail were in this state, too lazy to work until the last moment, only remembering to work when they ran out of money. "Let me see what kind of job it is." Mary Jane was somewhat surprised when she saw the job content. "Wait, I can't decide on this kind of job. I need to ask Master." "Please wait a moment, Master will be back soon." Master? Takashi hadn't met Makarov when he came to the guild. Just then, an old man wearing a yellow trench coat and a clown hat walked into the guild with a roll of paper. "Master, you're back." Mary Jane immediately went to greet him when she saw him. Makarov saw Takashi next to Mary Jane and asked, A newcomer?" "Yes, my name is Takashi. Please guide me." Takashi bowed respectfully. Although the other party was a small old man less than a meter tall, Takashi knew that this short body contained world-destroying power. Makarov's signature giant magic could allow him to transform into the size of an island at its maximum. His super magic, Fairy Law, when fully activated, could even defeat the Alvarez Empire's million-strong army. And the old man treated the guild members like his own children. Both reasons were enough for Takashi to respect him. Makarov raised his hand and greeted. "Oh. Nice to meet you." Then, "Humph." Makarov let out a soft snort, pushed off with his legs, and jumped onto the second-floor railing. Everyone in the guild looked over. Makarov waved the thick stack of documents in his hand and said with a displeased expression, "You guys are causing trouble for me again, aren't you? Take a good look at how many documents have been sent from the Magic Council. First, Gray." "Huh!" A shirtless boy wearing only underwear looked disdainful. He hadn't caused any trouble. Mary Jane smiled and reminded him. "Gray, your clothes." "Ah. I forgot again." Gray quickly went to look for his clothes. Makarov continued. "There was no problem during your apprehension of the bandits, but after that, why were you walking around the streets without clothes? And in the end, you stole someone's underwear that was drying on their balcony and ran away." Gray felt a bit awkward. "Well, being naked isn't very good," Elfman retorted. "Then don't be naked." Makarov then looked at Elfman and sighed. "Ha! Elfman, you brat, you actually used violence against your client?" Elfman scratched his cheek awkwardly. "Because he said I wasn't a man." "Kana! You went to the client's place to work, and then secretly drank all their wine cellar dry. To prevent being discovered, you diluted the wine in the barrels with water. Was I discovered?" Kana felt a bit guilty. Loke, you flirted with Dorome's granddaughter. Dorum was a council member of the Magic Council, and Makarov had been scolded by him quite a bit during his visit to the council this time. Next, Natsu. Eliminating monsters, destroying roads, pursuing fugitives, running 6 civilian houses, guarding a caravan but burning its goods, eliminating bandits and also burning the victims' belongings. Listening to Makarov recount Natsu's mischief, Takashi was shocked. He knew Natsu could cause trouble, but he hadn't expected him to cause this much trouble. Alzak, Levy, Krav, Biska. You bunch! You always make me get scolded by the council members. Makarov suppressed his anger, and the air became heavy. Then Makarov's tone softened. However, those council members can go eat shit. Makarov used magic to ignite all the documents in his hand. Listen up, all phenomena beyond common sense are born from common sense. Magic is not a miraculous power, but rather the manifestation of our inner flow of energy aligning with the flow of energy in nature. Magic is the result of condensing spiritual power and concentration. No, it's the result of pouring in your entire soul. If you care about what the higher-ups think, magic will not progress. Don't be afraid of those fools in the council. Proceed on the path you believe in. This is what a fairy tale mage is. Oh! Everyone in Fairy Tail cheered. Although Takashi had just joined Fairy Tail, his emotions were also infected by the crowd. He was now also a member of Fairy Tail. Soon, the guild returned to its usual lively scene, with everyone drinking, chatting, and bragging. Mira Jane came to Makarov with the request form and said, Master, Takashi wants to do this job. I can't decide, please take a look. Oh, what kind of task is it? Let me see. Makarov took the request form. Eliminate the Phantom Bandit Gang. Reward, 700,000 J. Chapter 3, Full Body Takeover. Ulquiorra Cipher. What? Makarov's eyes widened when he saw it. Kid, you're a new guy with too much guts. How dare you take on this mission? No, you should pick another one. Takashi said seriously. Master, I am confident I can complete this mission. He had, after all, drawn Ulquiorra. Although his magic power was relatively low, and he couldn't unleash Ulquiorra's full strength, even that was enough to deal with these small fry. Makarov still shook his head. This isn't a matter of confidence, it's a matter of strength. I have the strength to complete this mission. You stubborn brat, why are you so pig-headed? Makarov slammed his hand on the table, fuming. What's wrong? How did the new guy anger Master? It seems the new guy wants to take on a mission, and Master won't agree. What mission would Master not agree to? It's the mission to eliminate the Phantom Bandit Gang. What? However, the bandit group used their power to slaughter and rob innocent ordinary citizens, completely breaking the rules. The Magic Council had been pursuing the Phantom Bandit Gang, but the bandit group was elusive, appearing and disappearing without a trace, always escaping after each robbery, which made them famous. According to information provided by victims, Phantom Bandit Gang consisted of 13 people, meaning 13 mages. This scale was comparable to a small mage guild. To deal with such a bandit group, if acting alone, one would need to be at least at the level of an S-class mage. If it were an elite mage of top strength like Natsu, at least 2 would be required. If it were the average level of the guild, at least 5 people would be needed, and there would still be some danger, as the opponents were more than 10 mages. Thus, this mission had been sitting there for several days, and no one had taken it. And Takashi, merely a new guy, actually wanted to challenge such a mission. This was virtually no different from committing suicide. Master, I'm not being stubborn. I truly am confident I can complete this job. Takashi did not back down. His goal was a B-rank mission worth over 500,000 J, and even if he were to switch to another, Makarov might not agree. If you can prove you have such strength, I can let you go. Seeing Takashi's persistence, Makarov wanted to make him retreat in the face of difficulty. How do I prove it? I'll find someone in the guild. If you can defeat him, I'll allow you to take on this job. Okay. Takashi immediately agreed upon hearing this. Makarov scanned the guild. He wanted Urza to step forward, but Urza was out on a mission and not in the guild, so he could only settle for the next best option. Natsu! Here! When he heard Makarov say he would find someone in the guild to duel Takashi, Natsu was already eager to try. Hearing Makarov actually call his name, he couldn't contain his excitement and jumped onto the table. Master actually sent Natsu to fight. The new guy is in trouble. Takashi looked at Natsu. Natsu, the male protagonist of the fairy tale anime. He had noticed him since entering the guild. After all, Natsu's pink hair was very eye-catching. He hadn't expected Makarov to pit Natsu against him. As the protagonist, Natsu's strength was definitely top tier. He usually wasn't Urza's match because he couldn't get serious against guildmates. If he got serious, his strength would definitely be S-class. However, Takashi was also a little excited at this moment. He didn't know whether his current strength was superior to Natsu's, and he also wanted to have a decisive battle with Natsu, the protagonist. Kana immediately took out a sign, wrote Takashi's and Natsu's names on it, and shouted, "Place your bets! Newcomer Takashi vs. Natsu! Bet on the newcomer to win 1-2 odds! Bet on Natsu to win 1-1 odds!" Everyone in the guild heard Kana's words and rushed over to join the fun. "I'm betting on Natsu! 2000 J! I'm betting on Natsu! 3000 J! I'm betting on Natsu! 3000 J!" Almost everyone bet on Natsu to win, which made Kana a little anxious. Although the amount each person bet was not large, there were many people. If Natsu really won, her drinking money for the month might be lost. "Hey! Why are you all betting on Natsu? You should bet on the newcomer too. If the newcomer wins, you'll get double." Mikao laughed. "Haha! Of course, we're betting on Natsu. Why would we bet on the newcomer?" Wakaba, standing nearby, also joined in the laughter. "Exactly!" Everyone knew how to choose. Betting on the newcomer was too risky, while betting on Natsu was a sure profit. "I'm betting on the newcomer to win! 3000 J!" A purple-haired girl wearing glasses chose to bet on Takashi to win. Laki pushed up her glasses and said, "It's fine. It's just a day's worth of food money anyway. It's too pitiful for the newcomer to have no one supporting him." Takashi glanced at Laki. He had a slight impression of Laki. She didn't appear much in the anime and was originally an overlooked background character, but when Fairy Tail was in trouble, she was one of the few who still insisted on staying in the guild until everyone returned from Tenru Island. Being able to stay in the guild under those circumstances was enough to prove her deep affection for Fairy Tail, and it was from that moment that Takashi remembered the girl's name. Laki saw Takashi looking at her and smiled at him. "I'm also betting on the rookie to win." "Mira?" It was Mira Jane who had bet on Takashi to win. "I think since he dared to take on such a mission, his strength certainly won't be low. He might not necessarily be unable to defeat Natsu." The others heard Mira Jane say this and thought the same. Although they weren't familiar with Takashi, since he dared to take on that mission, it meant his strength must be good. Subsequently, more people started betting on Takashi to win, but there were still more people betting on Natsu to win. Soon, everyone arrived at the open space behind the guild. There was a large open area behind the guild, and beyond that was an endless lake. This place was often used to settle personal grudges. Natsu and Gray, Mira Jane and Urza, had often fought here when they were little. "Go, Natsu! Show the rookie what you're made of! Go, rookie! My drinking money tonight depends on you!" The spectators were all cheering for both of them. "Hello, I'm Natsu. Nice to meet you. My name is Takashi. Nice to meet you." Takashi and Natsu greeted each other. Natsu asked curiously, "What kind of magic do you use?" Takashi replied, "I use takeover magic." Natsu's eyes lit up. "Oh. So it's takeover magic. The ones who used takeover magic in the Fairy Tale Guild were Mary Jane and her younger brother Elfman. Both of them were very strong, especially Mary Jane, who was as strong as a monster. It's a pity she can't use magic now. Both sides, prepare. Full takeover. Ulquiorra Cipher. Takashi's body began to change. His original black clothes transformed into a white-faced, black-backed, high-collared long-sleeved jacket. His lower body was covered with a white hakama, cinched with a wide black sash. A blade was tucked into the sash, and he wore black socks and white shoes. His skin became slightly pale, his eyes turned green, with green tear-like markings beneath them. The left side of his head was covered by a white, horned helmet. Anyone who had watched Bleach would immediately recognize this as Ulquiorra's attire. At the same time, Ulquiorra's memories began to surface in Takashi's mind. From his birth to his final battle and death against Hollow Ichigo, this life flashed quickly, making Takashi and Ulquiorra seem to merge into one. As Takashi's transformation was complete, simply standing there, he exuded a powerful sense of oppression. Chapter 4: Takashi vs. Natsu. Everyone in the guild fell silent at this moment. Natsu and Takashi exchanged glances. Natsu's body instinctively told him that the opponent was terrifyingly powerful, but the more terrifying it was, the more excited he became. Whoosh! Flames ignited on Natsu's hands, and he took a fighting stance. Great! This way, I can use my full power without any reservations. Begin! Makarov announced the start. Wah! Natsu stomped his foot and rushed towards Takashi, his claw-like hands wreathed in flames, swinging at Takashi. Takashi seemed to not react, still standing in place with his hands in his pockets. Just when many thought the outcome was decided. Swish! Takashi's body suddenly vanished, then reappeared behind Natsu in the next instant, kicking him in the back. Ugh! Natsu was kicked off balance and tumbled forward. So fast! Is that teleportation magic? In everyone's eyes, Takashi appeared behind Natsu as if he had teleported. Makarov shook his head. No, it's not teleportation, but an extremely sophisticated high-speed movement technique. Because the speed is too great, it looks almost like teleportation. Makarov was extremely shocked. Takashi was too fast, he could only barely make out a trace of an afterimage to deduce that it wasn't teleportation, as teleportation leaves no trajectory whatsoever. What? Jet was greatly astonished. His magic, high speed, made him the fastest runner in Fairy Tail. But Takashi was actually even faster than him, that was too abnormal. Fire Dragon's Iron Fist! Natsu quickly got up, his fists wreathed in flames, attacking Takashi. Takashi raised his left palm. Clap! Natsu's fist struck Takashi's palm. Everyone thought Takashi might be knocked flying, but then another astonishing scene unfolded. Takashi stood firmly in place, unmoving. He blocked it. They had all witnessed the power of Natsu's iron fist. It could easily shatter even stone. Such immense power was actually firmly blocked by Takashi with just his palm. Is this guy a monster? Takashi gripped Natsu's fist, then swung him with force. Whoosh! Natsu's body flew out uncontrollably. Wah! Crack! Natsu crashed through a rock. He quickly got up, and took a deep breath, his chest swelling as he gathered magic power in his throat. Takashi pointed his index finger at Natsu, and a vibrant green spirit pressure continuously condensed, forming a high-density, vibrant green energy sphere. Fire Dragon's Roar! Hush! A terrifying storm of flames rushed towards Takashi. Zero! Om! Whoosh! A beam of vibrant green energy shot from Takashi's finger, meeting the roar. Boom! The crimson flame storm and the vibrant green Zero collided, and the impact of the two powerful energies instantly created a terrifying shockwave. Wah! The shockwave spread outwards, causing many in the guild to involuntarily scream, and some were even blown away by the impact. After a short while, the shockwaves slowly subsided. In the middle of Takeshi and Natsu, a huge crater appeared, the destruction caused by the collision of the two energies. Takeshi seemed completely unharmed, but Natsu was injured and couldn't support himself, collapsing to the ground. In the previous energy clash, Takeshi clearly had the upper hand. The match is decided. Winner! Takeshi! Makarov loudly announced Takeshi's victory, feeling very surprised himself. He hadn't expected Takeshi's strength to be so immense. From his appearance, Takeshi looked no different from an ordinary person who hadn't trained much. But after using takeover magic, he seemed like a completely different person, calm and cool, clearly a seasoned warrior. The rookie actually won? He actually defeated Natsu. His strength is too great. This is already the power of an S-class mage, isn't it? Absolutely. Only an S-class mage could defeat Natsu. What a monster! Hearing Makarov announce Takeshi's victory, the guild members finally came to their senses, realizing that the new guy had won. Although most of them lost their bets, everyone was incredibly excited. The guild had gained another S-class powerhouse, which was definitely a huge blessing. Takeshi breathed a sigh of relief. He released his transformation and returned to his original appearance. His magic power was already at rock bottom. If he hadn't ended the battle quickly, he would surely have been the one to lose. But at this moment, he was very excited. He had defeated Natsu, the protagonist. This victory gave him immense confidence. Takeshi walked up to Natsu, extended his hand, and pulled Natsu up. Although Natsu had lost his fighting capability, his injuries were not severe, and he could still continue fighting. However, such a fight would be somewhat unsightly. Takeshi had suppressed Natsu throughout the entire battle in terms of speed, strength, and attack power. Natsu couldn't think of a way to win, so he no longer struggled and simply fell to the ground, admitting defeat. You're really strong. Just like Urza, that monster. Next time, I want to have a decisive battle with you. Despite losing, Natsu was not disheartened in the slightest. He merely had one more opponent to surpass, which further ignited his fighting spirit. All right. Takeshi nodded. Although he won this time, it was actually a very close call. He didn't want to lose to anyone, even Natsu, the male protagonist. Everyone in the guild returned inside, all excitedly discussing the battle they had just witnessed. Kana happily counted her money. Her week's drinking money was secured. If she had known Takeshi was so powerful, she wouldn't have spoken up. That way, she could have earned even more. What should I do? There's another monster. When will I become an S-class mage? The path for me to become S-class is too rough. Elfman groaned, scratching his head in distress. Everyone in Fairy Tail was a monster, Urza, Mary Jane, Mystigan. He had just barely managed to outlast these few to become S-class, and now there was another one, Takeshi. Gray retorted, You talk as if you would become an S-class mage if Takeshi hadn't come. The truth is, you still haven't even qualified to participate. Takeshi was indeed a monster, and there was a high possibility of him becoming a new S-class mage. But as long as one avoided Takeshi, wouldn't it be fine? At most, it would just be delayed by a year. Kana's face stiffened upon hearing this. She had qualified to take the S-class mage promotion exam for 3 consecutive years. In the first year, she encountered Urza and was eliminated. In the second year, she encountered Mary Jane and was again eliminated. In the third year, she had a relatively easy time. She was eliminated without even seeing her opponent, Mystigan. This year, Takeshi had arrived. She had watched Takeshi's battle from start to finish. Facing him, she might lose even more decisively than against those 3 opponents. Did she have to wait another year? Thinking of this, her mood soured. Chapter 5. An S-class quest? Takeshi came before Makarov and asked, Master, can I go do that job now? Makarov waved his hand. Yes, go on. This kid, he's very strong, but he's also a stubborn little brat, definitely another troublesome one. Just then, Mary Jane spoke up. Wait a minute. Takeshi, you're a rookie and don't understand the quest procedures. I'll have Elfman accompany you. Elfman! Mary Jane waved at Elfman. What is it, sister? Elfman immediately came over when he saw his sister calling him. Elfman, Takeshi is a rookie and doesn't understand the quest procedures. Can you show him the ropes? No problem. Leave it to the man Elfman. Elfman patted his chest. It was common for veterans to guide rookies in the guild. I'm Elfman. I'll be leading you on this quest. I'm Takeshi, please take care of me. Although he had watched the anime, Takeshi was still unfamiliar with this world, and there were many places he had never heard of. It was good to have a veteran show him around. No time to lose, let's get ready and depart in half an hour. Elfman was efficient and didn't procrastinate, which suited Takeshi's taste. All right. Elfman went home to get his luggage, while Takeshi waited at the guild. Having suddenly transmigrated to this world, he had no luggage, so there was naturally nothing for him to prepare. Mary Jane then brought a large plate of fried rice to Takeshi. This? I didn't order anything. Takeshi was actually already hungry, but he was short on cash and couldn't afford to eat. Mary Jane winked playfully and smiled, saying, Eat up. It's free. You can't work on an empty stomach, and this meal isn't even on me. You earned it by beating Natsu just now. Takeshi looked at Mary Jane as if he had seen an angel. Beautiful. Kind. Thoughtful. What a pity not to marry her and take her home as a wife. Mikao, seeing Takeshi's expression from the side, said, Another young man has fallen. Wakaba nodded. That's normal. Who can resist the cute Mira? Soon, Elfman arrived at the guild, and Takeshi had eaten his fill. This was the most delicious meal he had had since transmigrating half a month ago. Takeshi and Elfman set off together. Along the way, Takeshi discovered that although Elfman was large, he was actually a talkative chatterbox, telling Takeshi many things about the guild members. Like Gray was a pervert who always stripped off his clothes without realizing it. Natsu was a troublemaker who always caused problems whenever he went out. Kana was a heavy drinker who started drinking at 13. Her highest record was drinking 10 barrels of alcohol at once, and 30% of Fairy Tail's annual alcohol consumption went into her stomach. Locke was a playboy who had dated countless girlfriends. Even the guild master didn't escape Elfman's complaints. He said he was an old lecher who often stared at young girls' bottoms. Takeshi found it very interesting. In his mind, everyone's image became much more vivid and lively. The two quickly became familiar with each other. After a day of long travel, the two arrived at the quest location. What's going on? What a grand display! At this moment, the area around the quest location was completely surrounded by the Magic Council's Rune Knights. The Rune Knights was primarily for apprehending criminal mages and was entirely composed of mages, equivalent to the Magic Council's official army. They had now completely surrounded the mansion, allowing no one to approach. The two prepared to go over, but before they could even get close to the mansion, they were intercepted by the Rune Knights. Stop! Who are you two? We are mages from Fairy Tail, here for a quest. Fairy Tail. The squad leader saw that Elfman had the Fairy Tail Guild emblem on his neck and Takeshi had one on the back of his right hand, so he allowed them to pass. Go in. The two followed the Rune Knights members inside. They soon met the client for this quest. Hello, I am the mayor of this city and the client for this quest, Cost. Let's get straight to the point, Cost said, placing a letter on the coffee table. Takeshi picked it up and glanced at it. The envelope had words written on it. 3 days later, your life will be taken. Phantom Bandit Gang. A threat letter? Cost nodded and said, Yes. For some time now, the Phantom Bandit Gang has been wreaking havoc in this city, and many wealthy merchants have already been killed. The entire city is in a state of panic, and many citizens are worried about their lives, choosing to leave. Elfman's eyes widened as he asked, "What about the Rune Knights? Haven't they caught them?" Koss shook his head, his face full of worry. "No, they come and go without a trace, moving very swiftly. By the time the Rune Knights arrive, they have already left. This letter was delivered here 3 days ago, so I posted a request to the Mage Guild." Takashi frowned and said, "With so many Rune Knights members outside, they shouldn't be foolish enough to walk right into a trap." Koss sighed. "Alas. If it were before, I would think the same, but recently I learned the identity of their leader, and I no longer think that way." "The leader's identity? What identity?" Elfman was somewhat curious. "The spatial mage, king of assassins, Camille." "What?" Elfman was greatly astonished. "Who's that?" Takashi had never heard of this name, but the title sounded rather imposing. Elfman said with a serious expression, "The king of assassins, Camille, is a notorious spatial mage, the ace of the Assassination Guild, the God Slayer Guild. Because his magic allows him to come and go without a trace, and he has never failed in assassination, he was dubbed the King of Assassins. Later, the Magic Council dispatched a large army to destroy the God Slayer Guild, and he disappeared without a trace. I never expected him to become the leader of the Phantom Bandit gang. Camille was a seasoned mage who had been famous for a long time and was extremely dangerous. Such a guy is too dangerous. This is not a 700,000 J quest at all." Koss said. 700,000 J? Oh. That was the previous request, wasn't it? Now I have upgraded the quest to S-Class, and the reward is 7 million J. S-Class? 7 million J? Elfman was shocked that it was an S-Class quest, while Takashi heard the 7 million J. He began to calculate quickly in his mind. 1 million J is equivalent to $10,000, so 7 million J is equivalent to $70,000. 70,000. Takashi's eyes were already gleaming with the light of $. "I'm sorry, a quest like this." Elfman immediately wanted to refuse. S-Class quests were too dangerous, and could only be taken by S-Class mages. He had permanently lost his sister during an S-Class quest, which was an eternal pain in his heart. "We'll take it." Before Elfman could finish speaking, Takashi interjected. "Eh?" Elfman was so startled his eyes almost popped out. Chapter 6: Recycling Characters. "Wait. Takashi, you're new. You have no idea what an S-Class quest is. You don't know how dangerous S-Class quests are, and we aren't S-Class mages, so we aren't qualified to accept it. An S-Class mage should take this quest." Elfman quickly pulled Takashi aside and whispered, trying to stop him. He didn't want to lose another companion because of an S-Class quest. Takashi asked. "But we've already accepted the quest, and today is the 3rd day. Are we just going to watch the client get killed?" He couldn't say that in front of the client, but it was true. As Takashi said, an S-Class quest inherently meant extreme danger. One misjudgment could very likely lead to death. Even S-Class mages wouldn't easily accept S-Class quest requests. Moreover, time was insufficient. Even if an S-Class mage accepted the quest now, it might already be over by the time they arrived. Takashi continued to manipulate Elfman. "Elfman, this is an S-Class quest. Don't you want to challenge yourself and try it?" Elfman was somewhat tempted. It might be years before he could undertake an S-Class quest, and even before that, he would have to pass the S-Class mage examination. This is a rare opportunity. If we miss it, who knows when the next one will be. "Don't you want to see the scenery on the 2nd floor? If we complete this quest, the guild master will recognize our strength, and maybe we can go to the 2nd floor early. Besides, aren't you Elfman, a true man? Are you going to watch the client get killed by bad guys?" Elfman's face turned red and his neck thickened, swayed by Takashi's words. "A true man!" Hearing Elfman shout, "A true man!" Takashi knew it was a done deal. "Mayor-san, we accept this quest." "Thank you very much!" The mayor was a bit emotional. Ever since receiving the threat letter, he had been living in fear every day. Even with the Rune Knights of the Magic Council protecting him, he still felt unsafe, which was why he reposted the request to the Mage Guild. Unfortunately, it wasn't an S-class mage who came. Takeshi looked at the mayor and said, "Mayor-san, since the other party intends to attack, we don't need to actively search for them. We'll just wait here for them to come to us." Elfman asked doubtfully, "But will they really come?" The area was surrounded by the Rune Knights, heavily guarded and layered with traps. The other party wouldn't be so foolish as to walk right into it, would he? Takeshi said. He should. After all, he's already put out the word. If he doesn't come, he'll be ridiculed for the rest of his life. The fact that he dared to threaten in advance instead of acting directly shows he has ample confidence in his own strength. Mayor-san, during this time, you cannot leave our sight. If you do, I cannot guarantee your safety. I wouldn't want to defeat all the enemies only to have no one pay the reward. Takeshi's tone was calm, but full of pressure, putting a great deal of stress on the client, the mayor. All right. Very good. Elfman, you protect the mayor closely. What about you, Takeshi? Takeshi said with a smile. Me? Of course, I'm responsible for eliminating all invading enemies. Wait. Takeshi, the opponent is the notorious king of assassins. Elfman found it unbelievable that Takeshi actually wanted to confront the famous king of assassins. So what? Takeshi's 2 words left Elfman speechless. Mayor-san, please prepare some food. After all, there might be a big battle ahead, and it would be terrible to run out of strength at a critical moment if we haven't eaten enough. All right. Seeing Takeshi act so composed, the mayor couldn't help but gain a good deal of confidence in him and immediately arranged for the kitchen to prepare food. Soon, fragrant food was served. Takeshi ate heartily, but Elfman had little appetite. Takeshi asked. Elfman, you're such a big guy, why are you eating so little? Takeshi, that's an S-class. Takeshi smiled. I know, and that's what makes it even more exciting, right? Elfman finally understood. Although Takeshi looked no different from an ordinary person, he was a complete lunatic at heart. After Takeshi had eaten and drunk his fill, he sat on the sofa, looking at the panel in front of him. S-Class Quest: Eliminate the Phantom Bandit Gang. Reward 10 draws. The quest had already been updated on the system panel, which was the main reason Takeshi wanted to do this quest. Takeshi lightly tapped his finger, selected every character except Ulquiorra, and chose to recycle them. Are you sure you want to recycle all selected characters? Confirm. Ding! Recycling successful. Host's magic power increased by. This was a built-in system function. Extra characters could be recycled and converted into magic power, meaning that some of the trash characters he drew could be converted into magic power to strengthen himself. Half a star? System, you're too stingy, aren't you? There was a blue character among them. Everything is accurately calculated. If host wants to get more magic power, he can recycle higher quality characters. Never mind. Recycling higher quality characters? Was he stupid? He only had Ulquiorra left. If he recycled him, who would he use? A gold character is only guaranteed after 100 draws. To put it simply, completing an S-Class quest would net him 10 draws, so to guarantee 1 gold character, he would have to complete 10 S-Class quests. This showed how precious gold characters were. Host Takeshi. Age 18. Race human. Magic power. Magic, take over magic. Character card, Ulquiorra Cipher. With 1.5 stars of magic power, I should be able to unleash 1/10 of Ulquiorra's strength for 3 minutes. Chapter 7: Phantom Bandit Gang's Attack. Time passed bit by bit, and as night gradually approached, the atmosphere became increasingly tense. The Rune Knights expanded their patrol range, ensuring that no rustle of leaves would escape their notice. At this moment, on a distant building, 13 figures stood. They were precisely the 13 thieves of the Phantom Bandit gang. Oh? So many people. Leader, wouldn't it be better if we just made our move directly? Why bother sending out a notice? A member with an afro put his hand to his eyes, looking at the heavily guarded mayor's mansion in the distance. Idiot. This is the leader's plan. Right, leader? Another member with a yellow fringe looked admiringly at the man in the middle. The man was tall and slender, draped in a black cloak, and wore a silver mask over his face. This person was the leader of the Phantom Bandit gang, known as the King of Assassins, Camille. Camille said, "This world needs a terror to announce our return. This mayor is the perfect target. I want everyone to understand that if someone is targeted by our Phantom Bandit gang, even the Magic Council cannot protect them. Anyone who dares to provoke us, once given a death ultimatum, will only face death. Go! Tonight, the name of our Phantom Bandit gang will resound throughout the world. We will become this world's nightmare." Oh! Boom! An explosion rang out in the courtyard. "Enemy attack!" The Rune Knights members shouted, and everyone quickly sprang into action. The mayor was instantly startled. Elfman's nerves also tightened. "Have they arrived?" Takashi nodded. "It seems so." The mayor immediately became somewhat flustered. "Takashi-san, what should I do?" "You don't need to do anything. Just don't cause any trouble. This place has already been set up with a barrier by the Rune Knights. As long as you don't foolishly run out yourself, you'll be fine for a while." Takashi looked out the window, watching the Rune Knights fighting the enemy. The Rune Knights were not as useless as depicted in the anime. In terms of magical power alone, they were comparable to an average mage, and with their excellent equipment, their strength was even greater than that of an average mage. However, even such a Rune Knights was now being beaten back, step by step. Before long, all the Rune Knights members had fallen to the ground. Seeing this, the mayor became even more panicked. Takashi-san. Elfman, protect the mayor well. Takashi, you. I'll take care of them." At this moment, the 13 members of the Phantom Bandit gang gathered in front of the house's main entrance. "Ha! These Magic Council guys are too weak. It's not fun at all. They joined the Magic Council precisely because they're weak. What ambitious mage would want to join that council? Now all that's left is to kill that mayor and the mission will be over, right? Let's finish it quickly then." Several people stepped forward. Bang! An invisible wall blocked their path. Heh! A barrier? Interesting. Watch me break it. One person immediately tried to decipher the barrier. Creak! The door opened, and Takashi stepped out, then walked straight towards them, quickly moving beyond the barrier's range. Huh! Someone actually came out to die. At this moment, Camille noticed the guild emblem on the back of Takashi's right hand. It's Fairy Tail. So that's it, the mayor requested aid from a mage guild. Fairy Tail? Is that the guild that's been particularly active recently? That's right. It's that guild. Heh! Kid, knowing we're the Phantom Bandit gang, you still dared to take on this mission. You've got a lot of guts. Takemi shook his head. Phantom Bandit gang? Sorry, never heard of it. He had heard of the Phantom Troop, but that was from Hunter x Hunter. As far as he knew, such a segment hadn't appeared in Fairy Tail. According to the timeline, the plot hadn't even started yet. Camille looked at Takashi and said, Kid, seeing as you're ignorant, if you give up the mission now, I can let you go. The yellow-fringed member exclaimed in surprise. Huh! Kid, you're really lucky. Boss is rarely this merciful. Takashi shook his head, refusing. I've already accepted the commission, so it's naturally impossible to abandon the mission. You've targeted my client, which makes you an enemy of Fairy Tail. Kid, since this is the path you've chosen, there's nothing more to say. Let's do this. Camille was merely acting on a whim. He was just seeing an ant pass by and there was no need to stomp on every single ant. Full body takeover. Ulquiorra cipher! Takashi's body began to change, quickly taking on Ulquiorra's appearance. Ha! Die! The yellow-fringed member raised his hand and threw a stone at Takashi. In response, Takashi raised his hand and caught it. Boom! In the very next instant, the stone exploded like a bomb, engulfing Takashi in the blast. Ha ha! What an idiot! How can you just catch something someone throws at you? Ha ha! The yellow-fringed member clutched his stomach, laughing heartily. Takashi! Elfman, seeing Takashi explode from upstairs, immediately panicked and wanted to rush down. Suddenly, bang! A powerful Ryatsu erupted, scattering the smoke from the explosion. Takashi reappeared, without any sign of injury on his body. What? The members of the Phantom Bandit gang were all greatly astonished to see Takashi completely unharmed in that explosion. After all, they had personally witnessed him holding the explosive as it detonated. You're not dead? Hiero. A defensive Arrancar technique, which uses condensed Riryoku to fortify the skin so much that even swords cannot pierce. Ordinary attacks simply cannot harm Takashi. Ulquiorra's Hiero could even withstand Ichigo's Getsuga Tensho in his hollowification state, only sustaining minor injuries. Ulquiorra could instantly heal such minor injuries. This level of explosion couldn't even break through Takashi's defense. Damn it! I don't believe you can't be killed by an explosion! Stones appeared in the yellow-fringed member's hands, and he rapidly threw them at Takashi. Sonido! Whoosh! Takashi's figure vanished instantly. The next moment, pft! A long blade pierced through the yellow-fringed member's body from behind. What? The yellow-fringed member looked in disbelief at the blade piercing him. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a hurry, Takashi said indifferently. His magical power was too low. Even when using Ulquiorra's most ordinary state, he could only maintain it for a maximum of 10 minutes. If he didn't eliminate these guys within 10 minutes, then he would be the one to be eliminated. Therefore, he had to finish this quickly. Chapter 8: Camille's Weird Magic. You bastard! How dare you kill Monka? Go to hell! The rest of the Phantom Bandit gang mages, seeing Takashi take out the young blonde, immediately attacked him. Great Flame Bomb! The mage with the explosive hairstyle launched a fireball at Takashi. Siro! Takashi raised his hand and released a Siro. Takashi's Siro, though launched later, arrived first and struck the fireball. Boom! The two energies collided and exploded with a roar. Ugh! Ah! The explosive-haired mage was blown away. Takashi said calmly, 11 more. Bastard! At this moment, the rest of the Phantom Bandit gang were all enraged. They had initially underestimated Takashi due to his youth, never expecting him to eliminate 2 of their members in the blink of an eye. Most importantly, he had eliminated 2 people with such ease. This gave them a sense of danger that made their hair stand on end. Wind Blade! One mage raised his hand and released a large number of wind blades. Sonido! Takashi's body instantly vanished again, reappearing in front of that mage in the next moment. Pfft! Oh! Before the mage could react, his body was sliced by Takashi's blade, blood gushing from his chest as he collapsed to the ground. 10 remaining. Immediately after, Takashi pointed his index finger at several people. A verdant green light continuously gathered in front of his index finger, forming a small, emerald energy sphere. I'll block it! Earth molding, wall! Rumble! The ground quickly rose, and an earthen wall stood before the mages. Siro! Whoosh! A beam of verdant green energy shot from Takashi's index finger, rapidly expanding. Boom! The earthen wall was instantly shattered the moment it encountered Siro. Ah! Arg! 4 members of the Phantom Bandit gang were eliminated by this single strike, and a huge chasm was carved into the ground. 6 remaining? Go to hell! A member dressed in a tight-fitting suit, resembling a ninja, silently appeared behind Takashi, his blade thrusting towards Takashi's heart. "Takashi, watch out!" Elfman, seeing this, immediately shouted a warning, but it was already too late. The mage's blade pierced Takashi's body, and just as everyone thought Takashi was doomed. Crack! Takashi was unharmed, but the opponent's blade snapped. What? The attacker was greatly shocked and immediately tried to pull back. Slap! A hand clamped onto his face, and then he felt an irresistible monstrous strength appear, pressing his head towards the ground. Boom! The ground was instantly smashed into a large crater. Takashi released his hand. By now, the attacker was now unconscious, eyes rolled back. 5 remaining. Monster! The remaining few mages couldn't help but feel a chill. Magic couldn't kill him, swords couldn't pierce him. What else could this guy be but a monster? How could they defeat such a monster? Keep attacking! If one strike is ineffective, then attack 10 times, 100 times. I refuse to believe this monster can't be killed. The mages immediately scattered and attacked Takashi. Futility. Takashi's figure flickered several times, and 4 mages fell to the ground. A mage capable of easily eliminating a squad of rune knights is undoubtedly powerful, an elite among elites in any mage guild. But in front of Takashi, they didn't even have room to resist. Speed, strength, attack power, defense. Takashi had a generational lead in all attributes, which meant no one could even last a single round. 1 person left. Clap. Clap. Camille, the leader, who had been observing the battle from the sidelines, now clapped his hands. Excellent! Truly excellent! Kid, to have such strength at such a young age is remarkable. Takashi looked at Camille. All your companions have been eliminated. Are you really that happy? Companions? Only the strong can be my companions. They weren't my initial companions either, they merely eliminated my former companions and then became my new ones. Kid, you possess such powerful abilities, yet you still have to toil away at work. Don't you think it's a waste? Takashi raised an eyebrow. Oh? What should I do then? Join me, of course. What's the benefit of joining you? Benefit? Ha ha. There are many benefits. As long as you join me, we'll overthrow the Magic Council together. We'll create a world where only we are the masters, and then the entire world will be ours. You can freely do whatever you want, money, status, fame, power, women. Whatever you desire you shall have. Takashi said flatly. Enough. What? Have you already decided to join me? Of course. I refuse. What? Takashi said disdainfully. I thought you'd say something incredible, but this is it? You've wasted 2 minutes of my time. You talk a big game, but you're just a lone commander trying to trick me into working for you? Do you think you're the main character? Overthrowing the Magic Council? Dominating the world? It seems you don't know your place. Camille's face darkened. Kid, I invited you because I value talent. If you don't agree, then your only fate is death. Takashi said calmly. Sorry. I'm in a hurry, so please just die. Sonido. Whoosh. Takashi appeared beside Camille, his blade slashing towards him. Just as the blade was about to strike Camille, it suddenly twisted, the edge curving and changing direction. Takashi quickly dodged. Pfft. Even with his quick dodge, his shoulder was still pierced by the sword. Takashi was slightly surprised, as this situation was clearly beyond his expectations. He quickly retreated, pointing his right index finger at Camille, verdant green energy continuously gathering. Zero. Whoosh. An energy beam shot towards Camille. Camille, however, stood still. Just as Zero was about to strike Camille, suddenly it turned around and shot towards Takashi. Boom! The Zero destroyed all the houses on the street it touched, carving out a massive pathway. Takashi's figure appeared not far away. The moment Zero turned, he had timely used Sonido to evade its attack. Camille said, What a pity! If your reaction had been a little slower just now, it wouldn't have been your arm that was pierced, but your head. Takashi, are you all right? You bastard! Elfman's right arm transformed into a bear's paw, ready to attack. Don't come over. Takashi raised his hand to stop Elfman. Protect the client. I'm fine. Camille sneered. Fine? Kid, your right arm is already useless. I'll give you one more chance. Join me, and become my subordinate. Otherwise not only you, but your companion will also die. Takashi ignored Camille's words, gripping the blade with both hands and slowly pulling out the long sword embedded in his shoulder. Almost as soon as the sword was withdrawn, the wound on his shoulder began to heal rapidly, disappearing in a blink of an eye, as if he had never been injured at all. Chapter 9: First Resurrection. Regeneration. A skill possessed by some hollows, which most hollows discard for greater offensive power after becoming Arrancar. However, Ulquiorra retained it. Besides his internal organs and brain, any other part of his body can regenerate in a very short time after being destroyed. As long as Takashi is using takeover magic on Ulquiorra, this level of injury is no different from being unharmed to him. What? How is that possible? It healed. Everyone who witnessed this scene was stunned. The magic world had all sorts of magic, but no one had ever heard of magic that could heal so quickly. You fellow! Camille was also deeply shocked. This kid's speed, strength, attack power, and magical destructive power were already terrifying, and on top of that, he was immortal. He had never encountered such a monster before. Your magic should be full reflection, right? Takashi looked at Camille. Both attacks had been reflected, so he had a rough idea of his opponent's magic. Camille nodded. Not bad. You could guess my magic with just 2 attacks. That's right. My magic is full reflection, which means no magic or attack can harm me, while my attacks can freely strike you all. What? How can there be such an unreasonable magic? Elfman couldn't help but be in disbelief after hearing Camille's words. How could they defeat such an enemy? Kid, now you know the gap between us, don't you? You are very strong. Your speed, strength, attack power, and that incredible regeneration ability are all formidable. But you can't do anything to me. And you're using takeover magic, aren't you? This must be the power of the fellow you've taken over. Once your magic power runs out and you release your transformation, that will be your demise. Ha ha! Camille laughed arrogantly. Killing an ordinary mage didn't interest him, but killing a genius like Takashi was different. He loved killing these geniuses, it made him feel like he was the strongest. Just then, Elfman rushed out and stood in front of Takashi. You wish. Takashi patted Elfman's shoulder. Alright, don't worry so much. This guy is just boasting. Full reflection magic seems unsolvable, but that doesn't mean he's that powerful. If he were truly powerful, he wouldn't be standing there motionless. He would have rushed over and dealt with me already. Also, full reflection magic is indeed formidable, but it doesn't mean it can truly reflect everything. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been reduced to a stray dog. Hearing this, Camille's tone turned cold. Humph! Kid, you're very calm. My reflection does have limits. If it exceeds a certain threshold, I can't reflect it. But do you think you can break my limit? That last attack was already your strongest magic, wasn't it? My attacks can harm you right now, but how long can you last? 3 minutes. Takashi answered simply and directly. Eh? Elfman was dumbfounded. Why would you tell your opponent so directly? Isn't that a bit too honest? 3 minutes? Ha 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 ha! Kid, enjoy these last 3 minutes. Camille laughed arrogantly when he heard Takashi say that. He had originally thought the other party could last half an hour or several hours, but he didn't expect it to be just a mere 3 minutes. Elfman's expression became serious. He had to make a choice. Takashi, run away immediately later, don't look back. I'll deal with him. He planned to use takeover magic with the beast, But once he does that, he might lose his sanity. A year ago, he had forcibly used B's soul due to insufficient power, which led to the death of his sister, Lee-sana. He didn't want to kill Takashi, his guildmate, this time. Just then, Takashi calmly said, "3 minutes is enough." Camille looked at Takashi. "What did you say?" Takashi ignored Camille. He gently raised the Zanpakuto in his hand, pointed it at Camille, and softly chanted his Resurrection command. "Enclose. Murcielago. Buzz." The sky suddenly darkened, and terrifying Ryatsu erupted from Takashi's body. Whoa! Elfman was blown backward by this Ryatsu. Black Ryatsu raindrops fell from the sky. Everyone involuntarily looked up at the sky. Black rain? Camille frowned, wanting to reflect the black raindrops, but sensing no threat from them, he gave up. Soon, the raindrops fell on his face, and he was startled to find that these raindrops didn't have the wet feeling of actual rain. "This isn't real rain, these are liquefied magic power raindrops." Soon, the black rain phenomenon disappeared. Takashi's appearance also underwent a huge change. His clothes transformed into a white full-body robe, he wore a white helmet with 2 horns, his black hair became longer, the tear marks on his face deepened, and most strikingly, a pair of huge black bat wings, like those of a demon, appeared behind him. This form was Ulquiorra's form after his first stage of resurrection. At this moment, terrifying power emanated from Takashi's body. Seeing Takashi in this form, Camille instinctively felt an intense danger. This guy reminded him of the monsters among the 10 wizard saints. "Don't waver. Hold your stance, tense your nerves, don't let up for a single instant." Takashi looked at Camille with cold eyes, as if looking at a dead man. Camille was provoked by Takashi's gaze and words. "Huh! What nonsense are you spouting, you stinking brat? You haven't even touched a hair on me yet. And you say I'm wavering? You only have less than a minute left. You're the one who should be wavering, aren't you? Just wait to be tortured to death by me after 1 minute," Takashi said calmly. 1 minute is enough. Chapter 10, Completing the S-Class Quest. Whoosh! Takashi instantly conjured a green energy javelin in his hand. The next moment, he appeared in front of Camille, slashing. Boom! A terrifying explosion erupted, and a green light spread outwards, destroying all the ground and trees in its path. Ah! Elfman resisted with all his might, but he was still blown away by the impact. If the mayor's house hadn't been protected by a magic barrier, it would have been destroyed in that blast. Bang! Camille stumbled out of the explosion, covered in several new injuries. He had activated full reflection during the blast, but the destructive power of that magic was too terrifying. His full reflection hadn't completely blocked it, as the wider the area of defense, the weaker the reflection effect. "You brat! Are you crazy?" Camille roared at the figure in the center of the explosion. This crazy brat had detonated the weapon the moment he used full reflection to send it back. This was completely unexpected and no different from suicide. Just then, Takashi walked out of the smoke, his body completely unharmed. Camille then remembered that this kid was a monster with terrifying defenses. Monster! Camille gritted his teeth, looking at Takashi. "So, this is all you've got?" Seeing Camille injured, Takashi knew he had broken through his defenses. As long as he could break through, it was fine. He flapped his wings and flew into the air, hovering. Whoosh! He instantly conjured another javelin in his hand, then threw it at Camille. Camille's expression changed drastically upon seeing it. Full reflection! Camille unleashed all his magic. After the previous explosion, he knew that simply reflecting the weapon back wouldn't be enough. Sure enough, the very next moment, just as he was about to reflect the weapon back. Boom! The sword detonated and a terrifying explosion engulfed Camille. As the smoke dissipated, Camille was severely wounded. His mask was shattered, revealing the face of an ordinary-looking man in his 40s, the kind that wouldn't stand out in a crowd. "It's over," Takashi pointed his index finger at Camille. Black energy continuously gathered in front of his index finger, forming a small black sphere that compressed more and more. Ciro Oscuras. In Bleach, only Espada-level characters in their Resurrection state could use Ciro Oscuras. However, in the anime, only Ulquiorra demonstrated this skill. Whoosh! A wide-range beam shot towards Camille below. Full reflection! Camille used all his magic, intending to reflect the attack back. However, Ciro Oscuras was continuous. As soon as Camille reflected a part, the next part pushed forward. Coupled with his existing injuries and the power that exceeded his reflection limit, he gradually couldn't hold on. Boom! Ah! As the attack engulfed Camille's body, a terrifying explosion destroyed everything around it. Crack! Even the magic barrier couldn't withstand the impact of the explosion. After a while, the explosion slowly subsided, revealing a massive crater dozens of meters in diameter on the ground. Camille lay in the crater, completely unconscious. Takashi landed on the ground, returning to his original form. Who? Takashi panted heavily. His magic power was almost fully depleted. The cost of activating the first stage of Resurrection was greater than he had imagined. In just 1 minute, most of his magic power had been consumed. Elfman? Takashi scanned the area, not finding Elfman, and couldn't help but feel anxious. Surely this big oaf wasn't caught in the explosion, right? Crash! A broken wall was pushed aside. I'm here! Elfman shouted, protecting the client, Mayor Kost, beneath him. Seeing Elfman safe and sound, Takashi breathed a sigh of relief and slumped onto the ground. Elfman looked at the blasted crater, deeply shocked. Although it was very brief, Takashi's strength in that form had surpassed his S-class sister, Mary Jane. Takashi, are you alright? I'm fine, just a bit drained. I'm going to sleep for a bit. The immense magic consumption made Takashi feel an intense drowsiness. As soon as he finished speaking, he fell asleep. Elfman immediately stood guard beside him. Soon after, the Rune Knights, responsible for support, arrived late, utterly shocked by the terrifying destruction before them. They were astonished to learn the details of the battle from some conscious members of the Rune Knights, realizing that a whole squad of the Rune Knights hadn't been able to stop the enemy at all. And one person from Fairy Tail had taken down everyone from the Phantom Bandit gang. This was simply incredible. However, incredible as it was, they quickly moved to arrest everyone from the Phantom Bandit gang. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Takashi. Takashi slowly opened his eyes and stretched comfortably. Then, he excitedly opened his system panel. Ding! S-Class Quest. Eliminate the Phantom Bandit gang, completed. Reward 10 draws. Sure enough, greater risks yielded greater rewards. If he had done normal A-Class quests, he would have had to complete at least 10 to get the same number of draws. The average time spent on one quest would be at least a week. Even if he worked tirelessly, it would take at least 2 to 3 months to get 10 draws. But now, one S-Class quest had taken care of everything. Looking at the 10 times spin, Takashi felt an urge to click it, as no one could resist the temptation of gacha pulls. However, he ultimately restrained himself with supreme willpower. He would wait until he returned to Fairy Tail and received Myra's blessing. He knew from playing games that gacha pulls were very mystical. To pull an SSR, the right timing, location, and people were all indispensable. This wasn't superstition. It was quantum mechanics. His gaze swept around, and he saw Elfman lying on a nearby sofa, sound asleep. Takashi walked over and patted Elfman. Get up! The sun's already high. Elfman groggily opened his eyes, then sat up in surprise upon seeing Takashi. Takashi, you're alright? Takashi asked. I was never really hurt, just a bit low on magic power. Where's the client? Is he alright? He's fine, he's staying next door. That's good. Takashi breathed a sigh of relief. He was genuinely worried the client might have been killed. It would have been too unlucky to finally complete the job only for the one paying to be gone. Let's go. We've finished the job, it's time to get paid. That wraps up this part of What If Template System in Fairy Tale World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.